Hello, hello, Otafest listeners. This is Season 8, Episode 18 of the Otafest podcast. And today with me, we have Nancy, Jay, and Dio.
Hello. I'm eating cheese.
Otafest podcast listeners in this podcast?
Never.
With this cheese,
With this economy?
entirely located to Nancy's office.
Can I see it?
No. It has been an exciting week. It has been a week, one of the weeks of all time.
True.
And we're here
God,
to
this
talk to you
meme,
about it today.
I'm already tired of this meme.
It is one of the memes of all time.
It is a meme of all time, and I'm tired of all time.
And that's a mood.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I wasn't at least a little bit tired.
That was yesterday before I went to bed.
Indeed.
Oh.
And then I went to bed and I was tired.
Really?
And now I'm still tired.
Yes, that's
True.
it do be like that sometimes.
Does this have anything perhaps to do with craft beer?
It absolutely does.
It does.
And all I have to say is that craft beers are getting a little bit out of control.
Okay, hold on. What do
You
you
sound
mean out of control?
You sound old.
They are going off the rails, I tell you what. So Dio and I,
In my day, beers were simply drinkable.
Dio and I, we had a fantastic dinner date at the third a local brewery to her, where I had
Don't dox me.
a kelp coffee stout, and it was fantastic.
I'm trying to imagine what that would taste like.
But that's not the beer that I want to talk about. That's not the
It
beer that I
actually
want
was
to talk
very
about.
good. It was actually quite nice. I would recommend it. It has a nice umami and not a fishy flavor.
Afterwards,
That's
we hit up the beer exchange, and I just picked certain flavors that sounded particularly good, like a nice raspberry sour, a coconut stout, and a Vietnamese coffee stout. All of those beers were absolutely fantastic. What I hadn't realized at the time, an average beer is like 4.5% to 5% alcohol by volume. The raspberry beer was 7%. That is a strong beer. Like 6% is considered a strong beer. Anything above that is really, really upping its game. And if you go back about a decade ago, it was almost a rule of thumb that the higher the alcohol volume went, the more the taste went down. There have been times where I've had a 13% beer once, and it was absolutely vile. So I take a sip of this 7% beer, and it's fantastic. It's delicious. It's like drinking raspberry juice. I was very much enjoying it. And then I moved on to the Vietnamese coffee stout. The Vietnamese coffee stout, I don't know how I missed this. It was, in large bold letters right on the front of it, 8.5% alcohol by volume.
Whopper.
So
That's a
between
lot.
these two cans, that's effectively as much alcohol as 3 cans of beer. That's a lot. Now, again, this coffee stout was everything that I wanted it to be. I did not
Delicious.
taste the alcohol at all. I was surprised. I was like, is this really 8.5%? And yes. Yes, it was. And then I moved on to the final strong beer of the night. Something that just caught my eye. A nice coconut stout. And I was like, oh, a coconut stout. That should be a little bit creamy, a little bit stouty, a little bit coffee with a nice coconut flavor. That would be very... And then I look at it closer and I'm 10%? This beer was basically like drinking wine.
Yeah.
But when you're having wine, you're having like
A little bit. Usually like
a
6 ounces.
small glass.
Or maybe an 8-ounce glass of wine.
Not
Not
a
a 16-ounce
ounce can.
of wine.
Perhaps it is not the beer which is strong, but it is you who is weak.
No, it's the beer. This coconut stout was, again, exceptionally delicious. Like, it was a very thick, creamy stout with the right amount of sweetness, a nice toasted coconut notes throughout it, and somehow they snuck 10% beer into every sip that I had, and I couldn't find it. This one can was like drinking 2 regular cans.
But your liver could find it.
I kind of... Okay, every time I've ever seen a stout in a glass, I always imagine that drinking it is like drinking a thick syrup.
Yes.
And the way that Angelo is describing it right now sounds like they took a coconut beer and distilled it into a stout. They somehow managed to remove water without removing the alcohol.
The alcohol. Yeah, somehow.
I have
Jesus.
no idea how they accomplished this.
Science,
Like I said,
probably.
True.
craft beers are out of control. I'm here for it. They were thoroughly good. But good lord.
See, next time we just get you, next time we're going to find the mythical, 15% alcohol per volume beer.
No, thank you.
We're going to find that.
No, thank you. I'm too weak. I'm too much of a baby.
We'll make you strong. We'll make you be able to handle the
I'm a
most
weak little
alcoholic
baby.
beer that beer brewmasters can create.
I'm just going to get some Stiegel Radlers that are like 2.5% next time.
Damn,
Those
I
are
like
delicious,
Radlers,
though. They're really yummy. Juice and beer go great together. Yummy,
Agree.
yummy, yummy.
Agree.
Yes.
Agree.
Dang.
But
so
yeah.
how hungover are you?
It is about 18 hours since I last sipped beer, and I still have a headache.
Yay! Good job. That
I'm into
means-
my 3rd glass of water, 1 glass of coffee, and we had a nice, cheesy, eggy, grilled cheese sandwich for breakfast. Nice and fatty to help absorb and do all the good stuff.
We joked a little
Cheese
bit.
to meet you.
Right? We joked a little bit about having like a mukbang podcast today, and it's like that's not really gonna happen because recording quality while you're trying to chew around food is not great, but the idea counted, and it was a really nice thought to have like a nice grilled cheese sandwich while we sit here chatting it up.
Yeah, grilled cheese and cast.
That's a different podcast.
But yeah, you'd have to hear all the
Yeah.
like Minecraft noises on the podcast, which I think would be kind of unenjoyable. So just imagine that we have grilled cheese sandwiches in our hearts.
Next
this
time
podcast.
on the Ota-Cheese Grilled Cast.
Depending on how greasy that sandwich is, yeah, it's definitely going straight to your heart.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love
But
cheese,
that
though.
was our night, and it was fantastic. The only thing that could have made the night better would have been board games. But there are certain things in board games that just always
rub you
get
wrong,
Don't they,
especially when
Nancy?
you're alcoholized. Okay, so I am far from a board game connoisseur. In fact, the last time a whole bunch of us got together and played games, it was an exercise in attempting to force your brain to develop telepathy just in time for our game of Hanabi. So Hanabi is a
Indeed.
game.
Oh, God.
I love Hanabi. It's such
Hanabi
mess
is a
of
great game. It is a game where every person has 4 tiles and they face outwards. So you as a player have no idea what you have, but you can see what everyone else has.
It's a
and
game
you
of
have to
trust.
be able to give the right clues to know to be able to nudge people in the right direction to play something. And generally, as a group of people, the first game is a little bit of a wash, and then after everybody figures out how we like to give hints, it gets a lot better. Hanabi is a fantastically well-designed game because it uses very few pieces, the rules are very simple, and it's very straightforward to play.
Yeah.
I love Tokaido. Tokaido is a fantastic board game about how to out-vacation all your friends. It is basically about you
true.
and all your friends going on a vacation throughout Japan, and you're going to try to out-vacation each other. You're going to have better food than each other. You're going to try to save as much money as you can going to hot springs, and you're going to try and buy like nice little souvenirs for bringing back with you when you go home.
And it's not even about finishing like the first or fastest.
It is
You actually
not.
want to go slow and enjoy the journey. It's a great
Enjoy
little
the
game.
journey,
I love
enjoy the scenery, and you want to be a dick sometimes and like block someone from getting the thing they need to finish their entire painting. I don't know.
That's what I always do on vacation is block other people's vacation experiences.
That's the thing, though, is that is the thing that will
It is
happen in
true.
this game.
It's not enough for me to succeed on my vacation. Others
Yeah.
must fail.
Exactly.
So, I love this game. The expanded version that you got through Kickstarter was really, really nice because in the original map, only one person could be at each spot on the journey throughout the way. So you couldn't have like two people at the bank getting more money, for example.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing that you need if your character is the one that starts out with like very little money and you need ways to make money on your way through the journey. So, cool. I like this new map. However, the thing that really bothers me about this game is that the iconography that they attempt to explain conditions to you, it needs to become a lot more intuitive. So,
Okay.
you have certain things where now you can go to a store and you can buy conditions, like win conditions, to give yourself more victory points.
Oh.
For example, you can go and buy a condition that says you get bonus victory points if you have XYZ different kinds of card backs instead. And that's not a standard ruling in the game unless you buy it as a condition.
Huh.
The interpretation of the condition is you look at it and you go, I have no idea what these icons mean. And it's the same case with most things. Like, even for the characters, when you're choosing your characters, you look at them and you're like, what is my character's special power? You have no idea. You need the manual, and the manual isn't small. You need the manual to be able to be like, okay, what does this card do? What does this character do? What does that do? And
Right. So you want to play the game, but you can't play the game because you're spending like 50 minutes going through the like
deciphering
70 page
icons.
like 70 page bibliography with appendices and like a table of contents to figure out what the heck anything in the game means.
And I have likened this as a joke, but now the more I think about it, the more accurate it becomes. It is like trying to understand hieroglyphics, and you have a dictionary for it somewhere, but you must find the right hieroglyphic.
Right,
all
like
the
you have
time.
to. It's like if you have like a Chinese character dictionary or like a Japanese character dictionary, and it's like, oh, I want to go find this picture. Well, I have to know what this picture looks like, and I have to understand how it looks compared to the other pictures to understand where it's going to be in the dictionary, which I wouldn't know how to do because if I knew the picture, I wouldn't need the dictionary.
So this basically results in a game where you need to keep the manual close at hand, because anytime you pick up stuff or anytime you get to go to the shop and buy something, you're allowed to look through all of them to pick one
Yeah.
that you want to buy. So if you go to the shop and you're like, I'm going to buy one of these funky win conditions, and there are 16 of them, you need to read through all 16 of them to figure
To
out which one you
understand
want
which
to buy.
one you want.
So that brought back all these UX feelings, user experience feelings about inconsistently designed game mechanics. And I bet you, Dio and Angelo, have some inconsistently designed game mechanics that they've hated, and Jay has had to hate through various video games in the past that we've all
And
played.
board games. Yeah.
Because for the longest time, and I remember this because the first time I played Final Fantasy X, it was on a CRT screen, I couldn't understand what the icons meant.
Because they're so tiny.
And they didn't make sense to me. Like, you look at them and you're like, is that a number? Is that an icon? What is that?
What is that? Is that a letter, a number? And the answer is, it's a mysterious third thing. Good luck.
It's the element alignment of the creature you're trying to fight. And I'm like,
You're like,
oh,
but
that
what
was
does
readily
that
apparent?
mean? You're like, it's a pink blobby thing. What does pink blobby thing communicate? I don't know. A thing, maybe.
Anyway,
Yep.
I love games, board games and video games, but sometimes when I come across these oddly inconsistent or difficult to intuit meanings behind icons that don't make sense, it really pulls you out of the immersion. And I fully clarify that to me, it's really important to be like in a fully or easily immersible gaming experience.
Yeah. Okay, I have two quirks that are similar but also the same thing that always bother me about games. And so the way that I would describe this is like the best games that I've played of any kind, whether they're like a board game, a sports game, a video game, they have a good balance between not under explaining the instructions so that like, you know, you don't get thrown in and you're like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. And I have to, you know, I have to research a master's degree to understand how to have fun in this game. Or, you know, the complete opposite end where it's like I am being torture chambered through the world's longest and most useless tutorial that is just that I can't skip and I can't get around. And it's like, but I understand. Like there are some things that are intuitive enough that you don't have to explain to me. I can just figure it out. The best games sit in the middle of this. And I also think, especially when it comes to story-driven games, the best stories also sit in the middle of this, where they don't under-explain the setting, so you're like, I don't know what the heck is going on, and I have no idea how much of my disbelief I'm supposed to, you know, suspend to enjoy this thing, versus, like, the over-explained story that is like,
Lore dump.
You're just lore dumping at me and telling me what's going on, and I'm like, I don't care anymore because I don't get to be a part of the story. Those are like the two things that drive me nuts. So like, I hate a game where I get thrown in and I'm like, I have no idea what controls I'm supposed to be using. Am I supposed to use mouse and keyboard? Am I supposed to use a controller? Am I supposed to use a combination of both? Because there are games that do that now. Like, what do you want me to do? Versus games that are like, here, you now have to play this unskippable 1 hour tutorial to play the game. And you can't skip it and you have to do this. And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't need you to teach me how to press the X key to pick up a box. I don't need you to tell me that I can use WASD to move. I know.
The best game tutorials are the ones that don't feel like they're a tutorial, but they are actively still teaching you. It's the same, you know, you could say it's the same way about like literal real world education. I don't want to be given a textbook on physics and be told how to figure it out on my own. But I also don't want a teacher to be hovering over me, pointing out every mistake I'm making as I'm making it, sort of thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Totally.
100%.
It needs to be organic in nature, and the interest has to be there too. The tutorial cannot be purely a tutorial that only serves to lecture,
shove the mechanics in my face.
As opposed to, it needs to be gameplay, is what I'm saying. A tutorial needs to be gameplay without feeling, so it doesn't feel like they're just breathing down your neck with, hey, did you press X to open this box yet? Hey, if you open up this menu, I actually, that's something I hate. Elden Ring does this, where the moment the first time you open up a menu, it immediately explains the menu, and then you go to another menu.
Long-winded, awful tutorial.
Yeah, like another, like when I say the menu, it'll be like the first one will be the character item screen, and then the second one will be collectibles,
weapons.
And the other one, weapons and armor, and it will explain every one like I've never.
Like I've never played a video game in my life before. Like I don't know.
You might as well have assumed that I don't know how to read at that point. You know what I mean?
I hate that. It drives me nuts. And so the other aspect of this is not only in the gameplay aspect, but in the narrative. Because I like RPGs and I do like story and narrative driven games.
Same.
But that means your narrative has to actually be good. Like if you there are tons of games out there where the gameplay is fantastic and the story is kind of trash. Final Fantasy X-2 is one of my favorite games of all time. The gameplay in that game is perfect. It's amazing. This is my hill to die on. It's the best Final Fantasy job system ever. Like, bar none. But the story is a mess. The story is just a mess. And that's okay. But like, you know, it can be really ruining. And there's a specific quirk I've noticed in narratives, especially now, because we're sort of seeing this resurgence of like cyberpunk and like techno-futurism and post-humanism, like all those sort of themes and narratives are coming up again. But we're also alongside that seeing a resurgence of high fantasy and like your classic like wizards and castles and dragons and elves and stuff.
Yeah.
And so because you're seeing both of those come up, you're seeing stories and narratives that are trying to like merge the two, like where you have a mix of magic science, which can be really, really good. Final Fantasy, as an example, loves to do this. It loves to either blend them or let them be distinct and let them be like warring, competing factions of you have a magic society over here and a technology society over here.
Yeah.
And that's cool. But the thing is, if you do magic, so if you do technology has rules, right? Technology is typically bounded by reasonable human understanding of real world science.
Yep.
Magic is fantasy. It's bullshit, but I'm going to believe it because the whole point is that it's bullshit and it's not real and it's not based on anything that exists.
You mean I can't just summon a train?
Right? Well, literally, this is exactly it. If your thing is I'm gonna summon a train, I get confused because it's like, do you want me to think about the mechanization of the train, or you just want me to accept that you know, if you tell me I summon a giant monster and it breathes fire, okay, I don't have to think about it. But if you're like, I summon
Doom train.
Doom Train, and on Doom Train there's a bunch of drones, and the drones have missiles. I'm like, do you want me to think about like the war theater of this and how it's mechanized, or do you just want me to be like, it's bullshit and I believe it? And so I hate series that either like mesh the two together in a way that doesn't make sense and is very disjoint, or worse, where they try to do science magic, where the magic is like over-engineered, over-explained, like it's both bullshit I can't believe because you won't let me just like believe it. Like you won't just like give me this thing and not tell me about it, or you know but you're also giving me an explanation that's meaningless. Like the perfect example for this is like if you're a Star Wars fan, the Force it's just magic. Like it's
everything
just
else is science, yeah. But we have but we have one element of magic, and it's great. Right? The Force doesn't need explaining. It's just magic.
And then midi-chlorians.
Come in. And so you watch the prequel series, and the prequel series spends like an entire movie and a half like trying to be like, and there's like this scientific explanation for how the Force works. I'm like, I don't care.
I didn't need about it.
Sort of similar but not similar. So when I threw in that random ass Datubio, I like literally maybe 2 or 3 days ago, I was just bored and randomly browsing like Wikipedia, and I was like, oh wait, Naruto's a thing. So I went into the Naruto Fanpedia because I was like, let's see what Boruto's up to, because I have not like followed up any of it, like because I have been out of Naruto for a very long time. I've just Wikipedia'd like the storyline because I don't care. First of all, it's wild, like the enemies that they face now and the powers that they have. But the other thing is they're actually, like, I would say ninja powers are pretty mystical in their own sense. Like they don't pass it off as magic necessarily, but there's a mysticism about it, right?
It's a fantastical thing, right?
It's a folkloric mysticism, essentially, is what it is, right?
Exactly.
Because you've got like ninjutsu and genjutsu, which are like illusions and
stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's like it's not really explainable by science.
Yeah, but there are science. But there's ninja science now.
Science and technology in Naruto.
There is now. There's someone who actually there's a major side character that like develops ninja tech now. And I thought that was really interesting. They like the main character, Boruto, and I guess all the kids nowadays, these damn Gen Zers.
Darn kids these days.
They have like a wristband, like a reboot Guardian wristband kind of thing that does ninja tech for them, that can imitate like a ninjutsu, for example. It's kind of interesting. I don't know.
It is kind of cool.
I didn't look too deep into it. I was just like, I only wanted a surface level understanding.
And you were like, what's going on? But yeah, that's
My
that's
God.
my game / narrative quirks.
Yeah.
I just realized that in the sequel to Boruto, the ninjutsu are gonna be DLC for their pin pads or whatever.
No.
For their Pip Boys. They're gonna have to pay money for every single ninjutsu they buy. Use.
They're gonna go to the
and
ninjutsu
the-
microtransaction store.
Ninja,
The ninjutsu
it's-
eShop.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Ninjutsu FTs.
Yes.
Oh,
Nin
no.
fungible. Okay.
Nin fungible jutsu.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And on another side note, when I talked about Doom Train, I just remembered, like I unlocked a small stupid core memory just now. In Final Fantasy
excited.
VIII, summons are called Guardian Forces.
Guardian
yeah.
Forces, GF.
Yeah, it's a GF, but I've always associated the thing GF, like the acronym
girlfriends.
GF, as girlfriend, not
Yep,
gluten free or anything else.
Yep,
It's
girlfriend.
girlfriends. So when you
Summon
summon
a
your
girlfriend.
Doom Train girlfriend,
That's exactly.
Your Doom Train girlfriend.
Yes, that
Yeah.
is exact. I remember. I was always like, these are not my summons. They're not my monsters. They're
they're
my
my
girlfriends.
girlfriends.
I also
my
had
girlfriend.
the same thought. Yes.
Yeah.
Many years ago when I was a wee one trying to figure out how to PlayStation.
You can boost your
Yeah.
girlfriend too. Don't forget.
Oh yes.
I do have a core memory of Final Fantasy VIII that is also like a very specific video game quirk. I don't really think you see this so much in games anymore, but especially for games of that time where you would get locked, like you would have like save files that were locked in an unbeatable loop. I was playing Final Fantasy VIII and I got my game locked in the worst possible loop where it was I had messed up. I had accidentally saved over. Keep in mind, I was a child, so I wasn't in the habit
Excuses.
of keeping multiple save files. So I had one save file,
Yeah.
and I had accidentally saved on this save file. I had gotten past a point in the game where you can't go into the menus and re-equip all your stuff.
no.
And so I had accidentally de-equipped everything. Gotten past the point where you can re-equip stuff and saved the game, not knowing that I was walking into a major boss fight. So I couldn't
no.
avoid the
Wow.
boss fight, but I also couldn't equip items.
No.
Oh my god.
So the game was locked. And this was on, if you've never played Final Fantasy VIII, Final Fantasy VIII is 4 discs.
Yeah.
This was the final boss fight at the end of disc 3.
I can just imagine baby Dio just like
No.
literally breaking down.
I was
being
so
like, how could
upset.
this
I was like,
happen?
there's no way this happened. I have to be able to, there has to be something I can do. Nope. The answer is keep multiple saves.
Okay. I will.
Sometimes it's not save scumming.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it is protecting your own sanity.
Little tiny Nancy, when she first played Final Fantasy VIII, she wanted individual saves right before the FMVs, so she could watch the FMVs.
Oh, that's so cute. I do remember doing that too.
I could be wrong, but I've never played Final Fantasy on a console. I've only ever played Final Fantasy games on PC. I think you can watch I think you can probably open the game files, like just into the folders, and I think the FMVs are just there to be able to watch.
On
What?
PC,
And
on
those-
PC,
Yeah, on the
yes.
PC, because the FMVs or whatever, they were just separate. They were just separate, and
Movie files. Yeah.
they're not baked. Yeah, they're not like nowadays where all those
Where they're
kind of things are
baked
actually baked into other game files. I think you can just watch.
You can just open your Steam folder.
So
and they
Baby
should be
Nancy
there.
would have loved that.
Yeah, but Baby Nancy just had the PlayStation, and
Exactly.
they didn't have the PC version of the game until like years later.
Years later. That is
I
true.
did
absolutely
notice-
true. But
I did notice, though, my very first time actually getting the PC version of the game, this was before they recovered all of the code for Final Fantasy VIII, because for a long time, all of the source code was just, like, lost somewhere in a
all
vault.
over the place, and they were like, we don't
And-
know where it is.
So the first time I did get the PC version of the game, my brain was like in overdrive. It's like, no, something's wrong. Something is wrong with this game. It is not the exact game that I played. And the problem was the MIDIing. So it was the MIDI instrumentation.
Music. Yes.
It was all wrong. It sounded really off.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you also had this experience. They fixed it eventually. They did fix it on the Steam version eventually. But the first re-releases of the old games, because the MIDI music had been formatted specifically for the PlayStation, when they were regenerated back through just a PC like MIDI player, they sounded so off. It was weird.
They were awful.
Like, it was bad. Like, it was
all
just
the music.
So jarring.
It was all
because
wrong.
I wanted the nostalgia of hearing like do 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 do, and then I just hear and I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah, man, that's my garage.
Explain exactly why that happened.
That's my garage band cover of your most beloved game songs. Just bow, 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 bow. Playing a single chord at a time.
Oh man.
The answer is when so when you got the PlayStation way back when, Sony had put their own proprietary, like they had put together their own proprietary MIDI player that
MIDI
rendered
engine,
the sounds in a specific way.
No, that's just how sound cards were in the 90s.
That's just how sound cards were back then.
In the 90s.
So when you get it on a PC, it's not that same proprietary sound card anymore, so it doesn't sound the same.
Something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Angelo. But I have something to Sony.
The way that MIDI
card
works, unlike MP3 or WAV files that store the actual sounds that were made, MIDI specifically is an instruction set for when to play what instrument.
Exactly.
And then the sound card is actually what plays the instrument. So in this type of situation, it's like it was the same sheet music given to two different orchestras.
Exactly. And that's why it sounded different.
Exactly.
And so it was so weird. And so I think what they ended up doing for the re-releases was they were like, oh, this is bad. And so they put it through the PlayStation MIDI player and then exported them as proper sound files, as like, I think they are actual like proper WAV files now, so that it sounds like it did on the PlayStation.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Somewhat related, Sony is releasing Walkmans.
Wait, what?
I did see that. I'm
not
kind of going crazy about it.
They're not Walkmans. They're basically just Android MP3 players.
They are. There's also somebody
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up for
somebody put out. I've
chat.
seen them. They're crazy. I'm like excited for them. I think the one that threw me off the most was not just the Sony ones.
Here it is.
But there's a third-party company. It's not Apple, but they make. It's a third-party iPod video, iPod Nano.
Here,
lookalike.
It's in the chat.
So it's a music streaming player, but it physically looks like an iPod video or an iPod Nano and is like a touchscreen that looks like an iPod video or an iPod Nano. And if you don't want to buy the physical device, you can get the app for your phone that makes your phone screen look like the iPod video or the iPod Nano. And I'm just like, oh, right. So I can't believe so much time has gone by.
So I posted the link
genius.
for the like the new Sony Walkman product, which is again like an Android 12 driven, essentially MP3 player of some kind. It looks really good, I have to say.
It looks amazing.
I would have loved this about 15 years ago when I was in high school, when I was still using stuff like the Creative. Remember Creative, the brand?
Yeah, I used to have one of their little Movos, and they were perfect.
Yeah, they were actually a really, really good product if you didn't want an iPod. Type thing. This looks amazing. Would have gotten one back then if it was, also affordable. But this also reminds me that back in the day when burning CDs was a thing.
Yes.
I used to have a Sony, I think they were called Discmans, right? Like the CD player version.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Sony had a proprietary program that they had for your computer that they did some kind of crazy compression to it, so that where most CDs could only hold maybe 18 songs at most, really.
Yes.
I could compress 200 songs
Yes.
onto a disc.
Yes,
And that
I
back in the
remember
day
this.
when physical media was still king, it was
And was also way more
mind
costly.
blowing. Yes.
Yeah.
It
Are
was
you sure
mind
that
blowing.
was something special, or were you maybe your Walkman just could read data CDs?
No,
Because that was
it was
another big
specifically a
feature.
It was a
Sony
Sony thing.
It was Sony software.
Yes,
that
it
you
was a
burned
Sony thing.
music through, and you could load 200, 250 songs onto a standard CDR,
Yep.
and like, way surpass, like, the girlfriends that I had back in the time, they got the best mix CD because I had the
Oh.
200 song list.
Oh,
Exactly. Yes.
Jay.
That's crazy.
Oh, baby.
It was I remember
That's
this
basically
because
a marriage proposal.
not only did I have one of these,
Yes.
I went over to my dad's house the other day, and he still had his Sony Yamaha multi-disc CD burner
Oh,
in his
Oh,
living room,
amazing.
and I was like,
Amazing.
"Oh my god, I
yeah,
remember
I used to have.
this thing."
We all used to have CD spindles, and now
Now
I don't
we
even
don't.
have
We don't
a
need
C.
them.
I don't have a single CD, like a
I
reader.
still have 5 or 6 blank DVDs from a pack of 25 that I bought back in high school.
Yep.
That's
Jeez.
hilarious.
I am so
And those
hilariously
were
enough
all for just burning Linux live DVDs.
Oh my
Wow,
god.
dude.
for the time of using USB drives. So recently I was like I have become a quiet K-poppy in that I have been listening to, I like lots of K-pop groups. Now, I just listen to the music. I don't really care about like what's going on in the K-pop fandom.
You don't love.
whatever.
You're not ARMY. You're not.
I know. But I was like, but I really like these two girl
Sure.
groups, and they're two newer girl groups. I've liked every single. They've had each of them have had 2 mini CD releases, 2 mini albums, and I've listened to all 4 of these albums through back to front. I really like these albums. So I was like, you know what? These would look really nice on a shelf. I'm gonna buy these CDs. So I bought them. They're still
You're a
in demand.
degenerate.
And I was like, oh my god, I can't remember the last time I bought a CD before now. And then I had this thought of, I'm going to have these CDs and they're going to be on display. And I might not be able to play them, which is fine because I listen to the music on Spotify. But I was like, but what if I do want to play the CD just to do it? I was like, do I own a CD player? And I had to think about it.
I got at the Otafest Christmas gift exchange. I got an AKB48 CD, and I was like, "What am I gonna do with this?
Wow.
I have exactly 1 audio CD. Exactly 1. And it lives in the exact same CD player nonstop. It lives in my car's CD player. It is the Evangelion Sounds of the Second Impact OST. And I got it at an Otafest Light 2009
Oh wow.
gift exchange.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Hello.
Wow.
My memories have suddenly been jogged.
Indeed. So I'm just, we are seeing a Y2K technology resurgence, and I love it. Because I was like, well, so eventually I did figure out I do have a CD player because I have a PlayStation 4. So I have a CD player.
Okay.
But I was like, but I don't really want to like, let's be honest, if I'm going to go put a CD in my PS4 and then turn the TV on to listen to the music out of the PS4, I'm just going to open the Spotify app on my TV and play the music from there. So I was like, well, then there's no use in putting in the PS4. But I was like, well, what if I got one of those Bluetooth? Because they have those now those little mini CD player with speakers built in, and they're Bluetooth controlled and they light up and stuff. I was like, how much are one of these? If I just had one to display the pretty CDs on and occasionally press play to be like, look guys, I have a CD player. Can you believe that? And they're like $30. And I was like, that's nothing now. $30 for a CD player?
Remember when the nicest, newest CD player was $150?
Yeah, I was like, and this thing has Bluetooth. Back in the day, this would have cost $250. Let's go.
Yeah. Do you remember what it was like to like plug in a new CD and it always started up at like song 1, and
Yes.
so you'd already have the playlist memorized, and you'd just be skipping right away.
You would
to
know
the song
exactly where you
want.
wanted to skip to. Yup.
That is something I haven't done in so long.
Yeah, because when I go through, like, my playlists are pre-curated already.
Yeah,
Of,
I
like-
skip all the songs off of albums that I didn't like as much.
Yeah, and I recurate the album into my own mini album elsewhere.
Does anyone else do the thing on Spotify or other music services where you have songs that you really like, but like you're not in the mood, so like for that song, for that style of artist at that time, that you
Yeah.
actually just still take them off of your liked so they don't come into your regular rotation of play?
Yes.
Yeah, because
I
like
thought I was
even
the
though
only
I
one
know
who
I've
did
always
that.
yeah, because even though I know I'll always like the music, I just don't want to listen to it at this period of my life right now. So I
Right,
just
it's
like I unlike it. Falls out of my playlist rotation.
Regular playlist, and it's like when I'm ready for it again, I'll go find it and then
Yeah.
I'll play it. But I don't want it to shuffle in while I'm in the car or at
Yeah.
the gym or just chilling out. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I have a confession. Baby Nancy started a little tiny playlist back in junior high. And to be fair, this was the time where owning single MP3s was like, you know, that was the big thing to do. It was like, I have the exact MP3s
yeah.
of these songs. And they were lined up in the order that I basically like grew. So it was the very first song.
Oh my god, are you saying this is the playlist of your life?
This is the playlist of my life. The very first song was Eyes on Me.
Oh my goodness, from Final Fantasy VIII, Miss Fei Wong.
Never heard of it.
Did you ever know that I
The
had
second
mine
song
on
was a
you?
Spice Girls song.
Stop right now. Thank you very much.
But I had this like running playlist, and anytime I loved a song enough to go get an MP3 for it, it got added to the bottom of the list. Every so often, I would group artists together. So like, if someone came out with a new song and I was like, well, I don't really want this at the bottom, I kind of want this with the rest of their songs, they would get bumped up into like where I had some of their other songs in
Yeah.
the playlist.
Right.
But I've had this running playlist since then. I have stopped adding songs to it because it was impossible to keep one playlist. I started breaking them out. It's like, this is my workout playlist.
Right,
This
like
is my I
genres,
feel like
for sure.
crying
Yeah.
playlist. This is my anime playlist. This is my whole Do As Infinity discography. This is, and like, I made separate playlists so that I could keep up with it. Recently on Spotify, I have started doing more like a mood-based thing, where it's like, this is the one where
They also
I really
offer
want...
that. They curate that for you off of your liked as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
they
love
do.
that.
It's not perfect. It's not
it's
perfect.
Not perfect.
But it
it's
is.
decent.
It's a start. It's a start.
It's a good starting place.
Yeah.
But it's like, I have an Outrun Electro. I have one that's very cyberpunk feely. I have very, you know, bubblegum pop, K-pop.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's really funny. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll go see like my one long running playlist and I'll be like, man, I liked a lot of music and I went through a lot of phases.
Yeah.
As we all
The
did, I'm
closest
sure.
thing that I have to that is just the music folder on my PC, which has been not very carefully maintained or curated since high school, but it is
yeah.
the exact same folder since high school.
I'm not surprised that you've maintained, like, that you still have a music folder. I've stopped, just like everything else in my life. I just stopped collecting. I just don't want a collection of anything, even of digital files, which is not permanent. I don't save memes anymore. I don't save photos or videos or anything anymore. I am like
I am a absolute
hoarder.
digital hoarder.
You're a
Yeah,
digital
I know
hoarding
you are.
gremlin.
Me too.
I know you are.
I am a digital hoarder, 100%.
That's okay.
I don't hoard physical things, but digital things? Oh, yeah.
When I'm scrolling through Twitter and I see some art that I like, you bet I'm downloading it.
I only
right
save
click.
I
You are
only save
dedicated.
things that I think are, first of all, super interesting and I think will be hard to actually find again. Especially if it's a meme, I'm like, it's popular, I'll find it, it's stupid, I don't need this ever again. But if it's something that it is like, oh, I have never seen this before, and the likelihood that I'll never see it again, and I think it's that dumb or that interesting, then I might right click.
Dio just right-clicked and clicked properties on her reaction images folder. Specifically, not just pictures in general, just reaction images.
Yeah, a subfolder in the pictures folder.
It is 2.5 gigabytes and has 3,800 files in it.
Whoa!
And it's subcategorized into 285 folders.
No.
What?
No.
Dio has a meme for every possible interaction.
Every occasion. And like they have like very specific, like I don't know what this is. Like I'm 100% a digital hoarder because like if I go through reaction images, it's not just like stuff, like there is a generic folder, one that's just cats. Okay, cool. It's reaction images of cats. But then there are like very specific ones, like that are very like good morning, have a nice day.
No.
Is a folder title.
No.
I'm not happy for you is another title.
Wow.
Waifu is another one.
Weebs,
Weebs,
ayaya.
See, I would.
You
What I
hate
want
to
is.
see it.
I want to piggyback off of it. If you ever had like, if you just ever put them all up on a server, and I can just like, hot link to them or something.
I should
And I
have
would.
Reaction Buru.
Exactly, reaction brew. There's literally one that is anime girls with signs.
Oh my god, dude.
As a template,
There-
or
No,
That
it's
reminds
anime
me.
girls. Well, some of them are templates,
I have
but
a
some of them
folder with-
have stuff on them.
I have a folder with anime girls holding programming books.
I am. It's weird because like this does not affect me at all, and I recognize it, but I feel weighed down just listening to this conversation. That's how that's how anti hoarding I am. Like that's how anti collecting I am. And you guys
but
know
don't
this.
you-
I have reiterated this probably
Don't
hundreds
you
of thousands
need
of
to
times.
know
I
that
feel
somewhere
like.
on your hard drive you may not have looked at it in 13 years, but you have a picture of patchouli knowledge from Toho Project holding SICP?
No.
I do, but I know I have a problem. Like I have like, and that's not to even just like
It's
look
not
at the
my
ones.
drug, dude. Freedom is my drug.
Like this one, there's this one.
need to be free.
This is a specific meme. It's not an assorted folder, but I care about this specific meme. It comes up like very rarely, but it's a pink Pomeranian, and it's from dog spotting in New York, and it's a hot pink bitch named Breakfast, and I need this image all the time, even if I don't physically not physically.
Nancy's
showing it to
face
people.
is like my physical brain equivalent. Where like we're like, we understand Dio. I've known Dio for over 10 years. I
Yes.
know Dio. I understand that Dio needs this, but
Yes.
I am physically somehow still weighed down. This like her weight is somehow my weight, and I'm like, I don't. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
But
so
I
I'm a
get it
digital
because
hoarder.
that hot pink bitch named Breakfast. I get it. I do.
Exactly.
But I can't. I'm not right clicking on it.
I am a digital hoarder. I can't stop,
fair.
and I can't be stopped.
And we can't stop you from listening to next week's episode next week.
Coming to you next week.
Next week.
At this place, in this time,
In this economy? Good night, everyone.